is I think if everyone shares a little version of their story and what they've gone through, that's how we can all learn. And that's what we learn from. And that's how we all can help each other out. I think it's helping each other is a lot easier than we all think.
Hey, welcome back to the Star Power. It's James Barbour, of course, and I've got a buddy of mine, and it's a unique story about how I met him. Mohawk Matt Denny. Um, just a little background. There he is, man. He's such an awesome dude. I was doing the Aspire conference, and I can't remember. I was going backstage or something, and then this guy shows up, and I'm staring at this guy that you're seeing on the screen if you're watching this on video, and he's like, "Come on, I'll take you backstage." And he was doing security, and I'm thinking, okay, this dude's awesome. He's doing security, but he was just doing security just to get there and meet all the people. And I found out that he's this incredible entrepreneur, a massive history, knows so many people, but more so than anything else, has a mindset that inspires me. I then invited him to go to Craig Duswalt's mastermind, and you came there because you're going to be in Dallas when they did the mastermind, and then you get up and impromptu spoke about social and TikTok and all that kind of stuff. So, Matt, I'm super excited that you're here, and I'm glad you're on Star Power, man.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here, James. It really is a funny story of how we're even here on this conversation, and we became friends. And yeah, and I love the angle that you said of because it really was me getting there to security. I don't do security.
Right.
I I do it when a buddy calls or like I need to, and it's like, yeah, sure, it'll get me in the door. And I've met you. I've met a ton of really cool people that way,
Yeah.
and done business with some of them that way. And it's just putting yourself in the right situation. You never know.
Yeah. And it's funny because I asked you because you have a military background, which is how the security thing came up. So, like,
Yeah.
thank you, by the way, for your service there. And I told you one of the we just had Larry Broughton on, who is Green Beret, and you're in the Marine Corps, if I'm right, correct? You
Yep.
know, and so awesome. So, like, share like you have these stickers too, and I gave them to my kids, the Be Awesome stickers. You got them on the back of your phone. That to me is like just live your life in a great way. Where did that come from, and what is that for you?
Yeah. So be awesome, and anyone watching video can see. I'll hold my some of my stickers up to the camera.
Be the
But
reason someone has an awesome day. That's one of the stickers. I
yeah,
mean,
that
what a call to action, man. You know?
it really is, and it's a great story because so during COVID, like many people, a lot of things changed. And for me, one of the things that's happening about 2 months before that, in the gig I was doing at the time, I was working in the Pentagon, building up kind of the Navy and Marine Corps, a new innovation, something called Naval X. And as that started, we realized that we didn't need the typical military public affairs. I realized we needed more of the marketing, social media kind of flair, which is very uncommon in the government, especially 5, 6 years ago.
Mhm.
And so it really started like, and the journey of it all was me holding my camera up, taking a video of this thing, because our goal was we were trying to share with the 200,000 employees under the Navy Marine Corps on the civilian side what we were doing. So I just turned my camera on, did a video in a Dallas Cowboys jersey. It was terrible. I was going to plan to remove it. I ran into a wall at the end of the video because I had never done video before of myself talking. And so as that was happening, it became this fixture. I had a mohawk already. I had it off and on for many years, but I came this fixture in the government space called Mohawk Matt. And it really accelerated during COVID when I just started doing these little videos with senior leaders, with people that other people would call untouchable, unreachable. Like, and I had colleagues that were not super happy about it all because, like, I'd get called to the four stars office or to the Secretary of Navy's or Defense's, could you go do these little things? And it's nonchalant to me, but I recognize that I was in places I probably wasn't supposed to be, especially with the Mohawk.
And
So
and let me just say this: like, wouldn't you show up in like shorts? So, like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's one of my signature outfits is shorts, like nice shorts, not cargo, like your business shorts, which I think you can have,
yeah.
um,
Uh,
and a button-up shirt, like I'm on black button-ups, and then a really fat Marine Corps tie, and then my mohawk. And that outfit became like a staple so much that people stopped caring, and they didn't care they were in shorts. They'd actually now I go to events still, and they ask me, "Oh, you're in pants." I'm like, "I know, I'm miserable. I hate wearing pants." I mean, that when I started my first company, Denley Group, that was the first, or that's actually the second rule of company is you can wear shorts if you want to. And I don't know what the first rule is because I'm saving it just for that beautiful thing, right? You never
Right.
know. But so as this all was happening, I became this fixture of Mohawk Matt. Um, and it was doing creative engagement. It was kind of those on the street, kind of those interviews you see from like late night the last 20 years of
Yeah.
like on the street, like quick. It was really that 45 to second to 2 minute conversations. And so, and then bam, COVID hits. And so, okay, how do we still got to do this. So I went massive into the video online and I just leaned into it like crazy. And I was still recording some people in person, but a lot of people remote as that all folded out. And as this was all going on, again, we all in COVID, we all had to morph. I didn't have a family office at home or any kind of office. We're in an apartment in DC.
Yeah.
So we had to morph our dining room into like where I stayed and worked all day. And to do that, Lindy, my wife, kind of helped me make a background. And part of that background was this painting that she had painted with a tulip and excuse me, not a tulip, a poppy flower, and then the words "Be Awesome" kind of in cursive. And the reason she made that was about a year or two prior, she was going through her own healing journey of her sister passing from stage 4 cancer.
Mm.
And she had fought cancer for 12 years, 12 or maybe longer before it took her. And for a long, long time. And so, but her whole thing was when she was going through cancer, she created something called Happy Chemo, where she like was bringing happiness through like the darkest times of your life.
Wow.
She was on like a Cheerios box. She had this whole nationwide campaign, and part of that was the I Am Awesome challenge that she created. And the I Am Awesome challenge was she would go into restaurants where you give your name, and she would give the name I Am Awesome. And then as they would come out and say order for, instead of order for Matt, they order for I Am Awesome, and they usually say it questionably, and she would stand up and scream like, "Yes, you are awesome," and just like they would smile, and it was fun. And so like when she passed in 2019, and so when we were going through our healing journey of all that, my wife made that painting. She painted the "Be Awesome," um, and then so during COVID, me making content, me doing all these Zoom calls and whatnot, remote stuff, it was behind me. And so unintentionally, when I would sign off videos, like, all right, have a great one, be awesome, everyone. And because it was there, so it just kind of became my pattern.
Right.
And then, but it really, I actually didn't fully understand that I was doing it. And I also did this when I
Right.
started videos. Um, this point, and for those that can't see me, I was pointing with my fingers out, and it's become my signature logo. It's on everything. It's on a NASCAR. We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
And so like, but be awesome. And so now fast forward a little bit, COVID 2020, it was our 10-year anniversary for our wedding. We, like a lot of people, we had a big cruise planned for our 10-year across Europe. That got canceled, like most things did. And so my wife was like, "What do I do? What do I get him for his anniversary? We can't go anywhere." So she was looking at a bobblehead, but I guess the bobblehead was too expensive. And so she was like $200 for one bobblehead. She found a way to make a custom stamp. And this is the first time she paired me doing my pointing signature with the words "Be Awesome" across the top, kind of above my mohawk.
Mm-hmm.
And she made a stamp of that. So like I walk in on our anniversary from work, and she stamps it on a notepad in front of me on the counter, and just like so excited. She's like, "Bam!" And I don't think, and she tells this story too. She didn't realize what she was creating, because then I took that at the time, and I still do. I work with sticky notes a lot. I do a lot of facilitation and strategy sessions, and for me and my brain, that's how I map things out,
Mm-hmm.
and very visual. And so I was like, okay, well, stamp, sticky note, those go together. So stamp with my face on it, sticky note, me working in the Pentagon, it became, if I came to look for you and you weren't there, I would put that sticky note on your computer. That's
That's
how you
awesome.
knew I stopped by. They were like, hey, do you want us to take a message? Like, nope, no message. Just leave this on their computer screen, please. And and I was doing this to every level that you can imagine in the Pentagon. There was no one was safe from getting a Mohawk Be Awesome sticky note. Like
How awesome is that?
they were everywhere. And I had done things like this when I had left jobs in the past. Actually, when I got my fellowship in the Pentagon, I was a Navy civilian, and I had printed off old pictures of me, and I put them in the freezer in ice cube trays in people's desks, like all around an entire building. They found them. They found them for years, and probably still haven't found them all. And so, and this all came from like my guerrilla marketing I learned when I was like 19, 20 years old, kind of promoting concerts and getting people to show up for parties. It was all that guerrilla style marketing that I
Right.
didn't really understand. I didn't know that I was doing it. For me, it was just, it made sense. It was stamp, sticky note, I was here. Like Mohawk was here. Like it really meant nothing more than that. I wasn't trying to create anything. It was just fun. And
Yeah.
I was standing out. Everything I did at the time and still was about making an impression and standing out, not to make an impression, just to be remembered. Like anyone that's in any kind of work, that's the hardest thing to do in a relationship, especially in marketing and sales, is getting people to remember you so that when they come back, when they want to work with you, they want to do something. And so it was just a fun way. And then
Well, it also
about
brings joy. I can imagine, like,
it
it
really
brings a
does.
sense of not levity, but it brings a smile to people's faces to be like, oh my God, wow, that's cool. And it lightened, I mean, it's certain, well, like when you gave me those stickers, when I first met you, it brightened my day. I was like, how cool are these, you know?
Yeah. And it's really funny because I've spent in the last 3 years, I've probably spent realistically 20 to $23,000 in stickers.
Wow.
And when people hear that, they're like, "Whoa!" Like they're like, "No, you should do flyers and marketing things." And they're like, but the sticker is the most powerful thing that I have had. And again, I didn't do any of this on purpose, but it was because it's fun, it's different, and then I learned from people down the road because my face is on it. They don't want to throw it away.
There you go.
And so they felt bad, like, oh, I should keep this versus like just a company logo or something. As all this was happening, Mohawk Matt went bananas. Be Awesome went crazy, and I didn't think it would. There was this guy in, I believe it's in Louisville, Kentucky. He has what's called the Smile Project, and it's be the reason someone smiles today is his thing.
Mhm.
And he has an autistic daughter, or excuse me, a Down syndrome daughter. And so I found him during COVID doing a lot of content. He had this whole campaign called, and he still does it. It's a nonprofit,
Mhm.
the Smile Project, and it was be the reason someone smiles today. And so as I started hearing that and seeing that, and I became friends with him, I took that and adapted it to be the reason someone has an awesome day. And again, another phrase that there wasn't this millions of dollars of marketing, like this is going to be a thing. Like, no, this was literally just me being cheeky. And and it was fun. But the real meaning behind it was, for me, my entire life, I've always felt that a high five or a hello can change someone's day, can
Mhm.
impact someone's day. And I see so many businesses, people, companies, all kinds of things. They're like, I want to do service. I want to make an impact. I want to do this. And all that's amazing. But a lot of time, sometimes you don't actually need all that. I personally have gone through my own really bad days where getting a text, and you did this, James, to me last year when I was no one knew I was having a bad day. You didn't know. You sent me a text and saying, how's it going? And like that alone just elevated me. And so that's, well, it never really came in on purpose. That's always kind of how I lived my life,
Yeah.
was just
Thank
always
you, by
just,
the
hey,
way.
hey, you're welcome.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it morphed into a lot of things, and Be Awesome has kind of become that trademark, but it really came from my sister-in-law, um, and just kind of sharing the good, positive message. And that's where I lead with it. Like, and now it's turned into, I am Mr. Awesome. And like, if you want to go on the marketing side, again, none of the reasons I created this, but now the amount of people, and so we can talk more of branding than marketing. The brand that I've created, the people that send me, they see the word awesome and they send me a picture. They send me
Mhm.
a message. They tag me on one of the socials. Same with the Mohawk. they tag me, they send it to me. And so because of the brand I kind of accidentally created, I'm constantly getting hit up by people, which keeps me top of mind for them, which has helped me in my other businesses and partnerships and other things. So I've spent, and as it all became, and I'll pause. I'm a podcaster, so I can just keep going and going.
No, keep
But
going.
you want the NASCAR story and how it
Yeah,
became a
well,
sticker?
yeah, let's talk about NASCAR because part of what what Star Power is about is achieving goals and dreams, and I
Yeah,
know that you've had many incarnations, but all based on the fact that you are you. Like you haven't changed you. And so often I see people and and I've gone through this too. It's like, oh, wait a minute, my goals and passions are here. I've got to change myself to fit into that round hole
yeah,
or that square peg, but you're leaving behind who you really are. And you haven't done that. And the branding is really important. So yeah, I want to hear about the NASCAR and let's talk about
yeah.
how you you see that for other people and your clients.
100%. And I love what you hit there because for me, the last time I really changed who I was when I was about 19. And that was when I actually stopped caring what people thought. And I learned that from a good friend of mine who I'm actually going to see tomorrow. Like he was my old roommate. He was in my wedding. Like he's family, and Marcus Wing. And he had this philosophy of just not giving a shit
Mhm.
what everyone thought. And I grew up in with dyslexia, with ADHD, with things I didn't even understand, and so I always felt very depressed. I was always trying to fit in.
Mhm.
Like if I was like this back in like junior high, man, I can't even imagine I'd be untouchable. And I mean, I still am, but like the confidence I have now, it wasn't natural. It's an earned thing that I had to get used to and really shift my mindset from just not caring and being my best self. And even in the times over the 30 years or so, or 20 years of having that philosophy, I still go through those patterns of like, oh, nope, I'm going back. Like it happened recently this past year, working with a client, and I let some of their personality and traits bleed into me, which took
Mhm.
away some of me. It's kind of why my podcast is it paused for a bit, but I'm relaunching that. And so, and I lead into all that because it's who I am now is not that was probably the last time it really changed how the world perceives me. And now it's just I am who I am. I had an old colleague call me WYSIWYG, which is a tech term, which is what you see is what you get.
Mhm.
Like because I don't have a filter. Like and I can control myself in situations, but more of like my facial reaction. Like I am like if I am don't like you, you will know, or I will just walk away. And I don't do it to be rude. Like, but I get my brain goes so many directions. Like I don't like small talk. I want to have deep conversations and
Yeah.
I want to know that's you and I went into veteran health and my PTSD stuff within minutes of meeting each other.
Yeah. We did.
And that's what we connected on. Had it been just what's the weather, how's it going? Oh, cool, high five. Like it wouldn't have been the same. And so that's why I lead with so much vulnerability and so much of myself because it's gotten me where I am.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how the NASCAR thing started. Was as I was leaving the government service in 2021, I kind of realized that this wasn't for me. I was on a rotation to do this innovation unit I mentioned, and to go back to like sitting in a cubicle again sounded terrifying to me. I was
Mhm.
like, oh, like you're giving me the most freedom I'd ever had in the government space, and then now you want to just put me back in a box. Like you've already opened the box. Like I don't go back, and I'm not a go back in the box type of character.
And
Like
just so we're
I,
clear, so this is post active duty Marine Corps. Now you're
yes,
civilian government, right? So I just wanted
yes,
to clarify that, right? So you had already done your time
correct.
and you know all your service that way. So it's interesting. So you went back in and now they're like, okay, be in this box.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
And
I can't
they're
see
like,
you in a
hey,
box, man.
go create this new innovation thing that's different than anything in the government. Okay, now that you're done with that, now come back and just put you in a cubicle. Like, yeah, that's not going to work, guys.
Yeah.
Uh, especially, and someone gave me the advice of like, hey, with the brand I created, there was probably no better time for me to enter like more of the industry market
Yeah.
because I mean, except for maybe literally today, the government is usually always hiring. Right now it's a little chaotic,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, so after my Marine Corps time, I was a Navy civilian for 8 years, and that's kind of where I had gotten to that point in time. And so as I was leaving the government service, there was this moment where I was and I had found in about 2020, I started finding myself into the non-traditional masterminds and mentorships, and very non-traditional for the space I worked in
Hmm.
and kind of lived in the government military world. Self-care and self-growth wasn't really a thing that is promoted.
Yeah.
It's funny because like it's opposite of what you think you would want to do in the
Yeah.
military and always get better, but it's their version. And so I found myself, and I put myself in these different situations around people completely different than me. And I would go to these masterminds and entrepreneurship conferences that were that were with completely like no one could even spell military, like very different than my world. And so learning from masters of business and marketing and all kinds of things. And one of these events I went to in Southern California with Steve Sims was we met our friend Lisa. You know Steve, right?
Well, I certainly know who he is. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Gets
And
anything
so
done. Yeah.
that's true. Yeah. And that was kind of how it started. Was I had found one of his books, and that was what got us on to working with him and stuff.
Yeah.
And but through over the course of a couple of years, we made a friend in that group called Lisa, named Lisa, and we met up at this event in San Diego in 21. And just for context, kind of my whole philosophy is always kind of resilience and pushing through.
Hmm.
I literally 2 days before that, I had emergency kidney stone surgery. They removed like 45 different kidney stones from both sides, both kidneys,
Holy
and
crap.
I had a stent put back in. You can Google it if you don't know what that is. We won't go into it here, to help get the rest of the kidney stones out and keep my urine or my kidney tract clear,
Hmm.
so I didn't have any damage or anything, or getting any illnesses. And so I'm flying to San Diego with this tube in my body. So I'm in this event. Not I'm supposed to be drugged up, but I don't like that if I'm trying to have conversations. So I'm
Hmm.
just kind of living with the pain. So all that's happening, and she's like, "Hey, what are you? We think you sounds like you're leaving the government. What's next?" And we made this joke that our friend told us, like, maybe we're just gonna get an RV and travel the country. And she had this look on her face. And a couple days later, when the thing ended, we go get back. And a couple of days later, she calls us and is like, "Hey, I want you to meet some of my business partners." And so we get on a Zoom call, we meet them, and turns out it was the dad of and the owner of one of these NASCAR racers. And this NASCAR team, they approached us with the idea they had been looking. So they have a veterans organization called 1111 Veterans, and they'd been looking for a veteran couple to travel the country, helping promote their veteran organization around kind of the NASCAR world.
Hmm.
And they've been searching for an elderly couple because most people or probably retired veterans have the time or want to travel the country in an RV going from like race to race to race. That's not what people my age usually do at the
Hmm.
late 30s. And so when they met us, they're like, "You guys are like exactly who we're looking for." So we had these conversations. And so they came this idea of like putting my face, putting their brands all over this RV, and us kind of living in it, traveling the country, going from races, going to local communities, helping promote their veteran things and bring different resources. As this is all happening, we are one of the kind of steps in this relationship was come up to a NASCAR race. Come up. I'm from the West Coast. I grew up in Utah. I honestly could barely spell NASCAR. I didn't know. Besides them going left, like I knew nothing about the sport. So this next part, as I tell it, you can imagine how angry all my NASCAR loving friends were when they find out all this is happening.
Right.
And some were angry, some were excited. They were all excited, but they were like, "What? How is this happening to you? You don't even like NASCAR." It's like somebody that doesn't know football meets Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
It's the same
Wait,
kind of level.
who's Patrick Mahomes?
This guy, he plays tennis back and forth,
He
like
stands back and forth. Plays for the
yeah,
Cowboys, right? And
yeah. I think if you say that, you might get murdered. But
I
yeah,
know, right? Especially with you. I remember you
yeah.
guys going to that Cowboys game last time I saw
Oh
your
yeah,
whole family flew in, right?
yeah.
All
That
right,
was
so
when
you're
I went to
traveling around. You're in a you're
so we go up to Jefferson, Michigan, and First time in Michigan. So this whole, I didn't know that, we didn't know this at the time. The entire weekend was crafted around wooing us, which
Huh.
I didn't know. It was just cool. This is fun. Let's go check it out. Free NASCAR race. So we go up. We do some lunches, meetings with them on the Friday before the races on Saturday. The driver at the time, he raced in the Xfinity series, and NASCAR isn't. You have to find your own money.
Mhm.
NASCAR is pay to play. It is not you're the best in the world and then you get hired by a league to go play. Like, no, you actually have to find sponsors, money until you're in like the top five. And even then, it's still a lot of moving money around.
Mhm.
And because it's a very expensive sport.
Yeah.
And so we go and have this meeting with this team. We're in like this garage, so like it's very themed of mechanic NASCAR type things, and we're in this big garage workshop. And they're talking to us, and the dad of the driver, and he kind of runs that veteran organization, that business side of it, was like, okay, so, and has a physical check for 100 grand. He's like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. This about 8 o'clock this morning, I was ready to hand this check to you, and this was to go buy an RV, get it wrapped, do all the thing, and hit the road. But then that morning they got a call saying that he could be in a race. He was part-time racing at the time because again, you had to find your own money and find your own races. And so he could get in a race he wasn't in 2 weeks later at Darlington, South Carolina. And so he's like, so what we want to do is I have to put the money there to get him racing, but I want to put that on the car. And he looks at me and points to me and my wife and I turn around and we in our heads, we talk about this later. We thought he was pointing to an RV. So we turn around and we're like, what are you pointing to? And he was pointing to my Mohawk. And this is probably 3 to 4 weeks into meeting them. So we don't know a lot about each other. I don't even remember if they knew my entire brand yet, of Be Awesome and everything. And so he's like, I want to put that on the car. And I had one of my sticky notes in my pocket. I didn't have stickers yet. I had one of my sticky notes in my pocket and I was like, I have this. Can we use this logo? And he's like, we need the art. If you want to say yes to this, we need the art in the next 48 hours because the race was 2 weeks away, all the rendering for the car and all the graphics, like all the things that go into that. So I was like, well, we have this. Can this logo work? He's like, let's do it. And so he's like, think about it, etc. So as we go on, the next step was we go to dinner that night. Again, we didn't know we were being wooed. We were being whatever the phrase is. And so as this is happening, wine and dine. That's what was the phrase I was looking for. We're being wine and dine. We go to dinner, and they put us at this huge table with all the mechanics for the team, the engineers, the pit crew, some other VIPs that were there, the driver, everybody, the owner of the team. So I'm sitting next to driver right here on my right at the end of the table, the owner of the team right here, and across was another engineer. And to my left, again, strategically, we didn't know, they put me with the only veteran in the group. There's one Army vet, and they put him right next to me. And then my wife was kind of kitty corner from me. And so the night goes on. It was a great dinner. We're meeting all these people, learning all these things. Again, I don't know anything about NASCAR. So they're having fun teaching me all about it. And this guy next to me to my left is a little Army dude, little Mike. His job was he was the wheelman and he was the guy that was in charge of putting everything inside, the inside man. He was like
Mhm.
literally the last person that buttons up the thing before the driver races away. So he made this joke. He's like, or he didn't make a joke. He said, hey, do you have black pants? And I look at him and I was like, I've got jeans. Like, why are you so interested in my pants? And like, why would I don't know what color I have. They're dark blue, I think. And he was like, oh, that sucks. That means you can't help us in the pits. I was like, what? He's like, well, if you had black pants, you could kind of blend in with us and help us in the pits. I was like, oh, okay. And we go about, the night goes on. We go to leave. My wife doesn't know this conversation is happening. And she thinks I'm going to the hotel because the race is the next day. She's like, where are you going? I was like, oh, I'm going to Walmart. She's like, why? I was like, because I got to buy freaking black pants. And she's like, and she doesn't know what's going on. I tell her the story, and she's like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. She's like, my wife's very supportive, but she's like, that's not real. Like, they're joking you. Like, they're messing with you. Like, that's not going to happen. I was like, I am not going to be the one to not show up in black pants just in case it was real. That 0.0043% the chance that it's real, I'm going to make sure it happens. So I go, I find my $17. They were like more church slacks than they were pants that
Hmm.
you would wear in like a mechanic situation. And so I get those, got my belt. We show up the next day. Obviously, at the race, we show up later than everyone else because they're the pit crew. They can get in there a couple hours earlier. So we show up. We walk up to the trailer. We're in the back. They're doing. If you don't know NASCAR, there's a big testing phase. They have to like weigh it, X-ray it, measure. They're making sure that everyone's following the right dimensions, weights. They're not cheating. And so they're in the middle of that process. And we walk up, and this little Mike, this tire guy, this Army vet, he looks at me and he's like, looks up and down. He's like, I thought you didn't have black pants. And I look at him, I was like, you said if I had black pants, I could help in the pits. And he's like, no, I said you couldn't, so you can't. And I said, yeah, I solved the freaking problem. Like I got pants. Well, let's go. So he looks at me and he's like, all right, let's go. So me and my wife, so there's other VIPs there, and they're all focused on the owner and the driver, and they're in like the fancy part of the trailer with like
Yeah.
their waters and air conditioning. Because this is in August in Michigan, so nice and toasty. And in 2021. So we go through this entire testing phase of the car. And throughout this, there was a moment where one of the guys dropped a hammer. I picked it up. The pit crew boss, he was like, "Okay, dude, you're in now." So now I'm pushing the car down the line as it gets tested. Get to go through all these phases. We do that. It goes back. We go back, and we're kind of walking back to the trailer. We walk where all the other VIPs are and the driver and stuff. And they're like, "Where you guys been?" And we tell them, and all the other people are like, "How did we miss this? How did you guys? Well, that's so cool. How did you get in there?" And I was like, "Oh, I just
I had
talked to
black
people."
pants.
Yeah, well, at the time it wasn't a thing.
Right.
It wasn't me doing anything. It was just me being me, as you said earlier.
Yeah.
Um, and so, like, it had this failed, it just would have been another Matt story of like, oh, it's just an idiot doing stupid things. I mean,
Right.
it still is. Now it just worked. Um, but so we're sitting there, and the driver makes a comment. He's like, "Well, all you're missing is a shirt, dude, and you're practically part of the pit crew." Because like I knew all the teams like nicknames, and I was calling them all like at this point a couple hours in,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden I hear my name down this, like we're in the top tongue of this trailer, this fifth wheel trailer, and I hear my name, so I put my head down this hallway, and this shirt hits me in the head, and it was the team mechanic shirt. And little guy, little Mike was like, he walks up, he looks at me like pissed, angry. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing here? The crew does not come in here. This is for VIPs. You're back in mechanic. You're with us." So I look at my wife, I was like, "See ya." And so again, crazy experience. And now I walk outside, I was like, "What are we doing?" He hands me an air canister. He said, "Carry this. No one will stop you. Put your badge on the inside because that's what they all do." So from top to down, no one could know that I wasn't on the pit crew other
Right.
than just don't ask me anything. But from looks alone, and so as this happened, he takes me on, teaching about the tire, teaching about everything. We get into this is during COVID, so weren't letting people on the track. So like my wife didn't get to come on the track on that one. And they were going to kick me off. And every time someone was trying to kick me off, the little Mike or the driver would like yell at the ref. I was like, "Nope, we need him. He has I can't drive without him." I was like, "Yes, let's go." And
And you're like,
just hold up. Yep, I've got my air tank. I've got my tire tank. Like, let's go. Just don't ask me to actually do anything.
doing it.
And it was safe. Like I didn't jeopardize anything, and we
Yeah, of
weren't like
course.
didn't actually do anything. It just feels like I did.
Yeah.
Uh, and so, but they taught me all about the sport. And then, so we got to go in the pit passes for the whole races. The races was amazing. It was a cool experience. My wife and I go back to the hotel later that night. And as we're leaving the track, he was like, "Hey, so you guys got to decide if you want to do this. I need to know by tomorrow morning because we got to start putting the graphics in. It's 2 weeks away." So this is a Saturday. We go back to our hotel, and my wife and I are just puzzled, baffled. We don't know what's going on.
Hmm.
Like, how is this happening? How is this really a thing? Somebody is proposing they want to put my face on a car that, for financial comparison, it's about 185,000 for a day is what people pay to
Wow.
have their brand on one,
Holy, a day?
just for one race. Yep.
Whoa.
And they have two cars wrapped and ready. So like two full cars are always wrapped and ready in that brand or logo. And that's on the low end. That's the Xfinity track, not the main Cup race that's on Sunday. That's probably 300 to 400 grand a day
Wow.
for the one race. And um, so we really think about it. And I look at my wife, I was like, babe, if this is going to work, at the time I was the face of Navy and Marine Corps innovation. And so I was like, if this is going to work, I've got to leave the government faster than I had planned. I was already planning to leave. I was like, this race is in 2 weeks. I'm about to be the face of this new thing. And I don't think they would have clashed, but you don't want to
Yeah, you
mess
had
with
to
that,
make sure. Yeah.
especially when you're a government employee.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, we're gonna do this, and I gotta quit like tomorrow. And so she's like, oh, so we prayed about it and talked about it, and it was overwhelming. Like, do this, do this, do this. And like, those big neon signs in movies, they're like, when you got to make a decision, it's like, go down this road. Like, this is your sign. Like that, we
Yeah.
couldn't not ignore it. And so we couldn't ignore it. And so we say yes. We go to do this thing. 2 weeks later, so as we're going to the 2 weeks, we give them everything. We're going back and forth. We get all the designs worked out. Again, I had only ever had the stamp and the sticky note. I didn't have the sticker yet. Like,
Right.
what are we doing with this? So the idea was to use that to then raise money to get the RV and still travel the country and work with them as the veteran organization and help promote and help veterans. And so it was still all a part of that. And so I was like, okay, so we got to make this work valuable. Let's get stickers. We got to get shirts. We got to get a website. So we put that on the car too. My brand as well as my tags and everything, so we could drive people to where we wanted them to go.
Right.
And that was the first time I actually made that Be Awesome sticker that you had, and the Be the Reason Someone Has an Awesome Day sticker. Before that, it was just kind of phrases I had used, and I had the stamp, but it wasn't a physical sticker.
Right.
And so we walk into this. It was a Labor Day weekend in South Darlington Track, South Carolina. I'll never forget it because we walk in again a couple hours later because we're not pit crew, and um, it was like I don't even know how to explain it besides like lack of better words. Taylor Swift walking into her own concert,
Hmm.
but no one actually could really know why she was there, and that's what was happening. Was when we walked into the pits, everyone was glued to me because I didn't know this. I was only the third person at the time to be on a NASCAR that wasn't animated. And so, because
Oh, I see.
it wasn't like an animated character. And so it was an actual human person. And I was, at
Right.
the time, I was only the third person because most people aren't going to spend $190,000 to put your face on a car. You do it
Right.
to put your company, your logo, your brand, your thing you're promoting, you're sponsoring.
Right.
Again, I didn't pay that either. It was a sponsor type thing, partnership. But so as that was happening, we're walking and we're just getting swarmed. Like people were like, is this Mr. They thought it was Mr. T. They weren't sure because all they could see was on the door and was my face doing my pointing thing and my mohawk. On the hood was the whole race. The whole car was color scheme the same. I had the veteran logos on it. And so the whole car was me. This wasn't like we're going to put your logo on the door or
Right.
on a panel. Like, no, the entire car was Mohawk Matt, Be Awesome. Like I've pictures of my face going 200 miles an hour around the track. Like it's crazy. My face got there's Darlington stripe is the famous thing that drivers get when they scrape a wall. And if
Hmm.
you get the Darlington stripe, it's like a rite of passage because it means you had to pass someone. And so like I have my face got all messed up on the side of a wall. I was getting interviewed by the news. Everyone was wondering like what is going on and so it was really really great, amazing opportunity to help not only promote what we were trying to do with veterans, but also that grew the Be Awesome brand and got to tell my sister-in-law's story to a whole different audience. Um, and so that's kind of the NASCAR story. And there's a lot of pieces in there that, if anything, I would have not done if I wouldn't have bought black pants and I wouldn't have done this, like all these things that culminated me being on a NASCAR. And had we got the RV, it probably wouldn't have been an amazing experience, but it wouldn't have been the same.
Yeah.
Forever, forever, I am the guy on a NASCAR. And now I can, in my businesses, I can use that and use those things.
Yeah. And you
And
know what?
and it all came from be awesome and just leaning into stuff.
And mostly being who you are, right?
Mhm.
Being exactly who you are and not deviating from that, making decisions based upon that, and how do you feel that that has, or let me ask this because, you can answer this all day for yourself because I have a lot of people who listen and I have clients and fan base
Yeah.
and just people I don't even know who may be listening, who may be sitting there going, but I can't, or I'm overwhelmed, or, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. What if I'm myself and somebody makes fun of me? What if, I get ridiculed? Social media, people ripping me apart. Like what would you say to someone if they came to you and were like, Matt, like I need advice. Like what would you say to them?
So if the advice was what you said was, I can't start, I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of getting ridiculed, I would kind of agree with them. I would say, yep, all of that's going to happen.
Mhm.
You are like, when you put yourself out there, if you are not prepared to be mocked, you know this,
Mhm.
you put yourself in any kind of light, big or small, and people start to, you get support for a second, and they're like, wait, what's going on? And so they will have, like, everyone comments on you, everyone does things, and anyone in any career field or any part of life experiences this. And so my advice is, so what? Just do it. Figure it out. And that, for me, that comes from the battleship strategy of, I played battleship while most people are playing Risk. And there's the board games Risk and Battleship. In Risk, you kind of strategize and plan, and most people that win Risk are planning and planning and planning and then executing. But by the time you execute, if you're playing Risk, which is a game where you take over the world, if you're over here taking over France or Italy, you can't just shift all of a sudden and take over Puerto Rico or
Mhm.
Brazil, because like the board, it's not how the game works.
Right.
And you so much planning. But in Battleship, it's the exact opposite, which is literally, you can't create a plan because you have zero clue where they put their ships on the battleground in the
Mhm.
water. So you're literally just fire and forget. Like, you just A6, nope, two B4, and you just start. And so I've had a lot of success in by the time most people get started, I've already like missed that ship 7, 10 times, but I've recalibrated and I'm ready to go. And so that's the advice is you're gonna miss the first few times, and you got to find a way to be okay with that. And if you're not, maybe that hard different thing isn't for you, or maybe it's just learning what that is. But I really had to find a way to be okay with failure. And anyone talking, especially now,
Yeah.
people are talking about this like crazy. It's really only failure when you stop, not just failing and keep going. And
Yeah.
that's what I've had. And it really blends to your question. It blends with being your most true self. And every time I have veered away from that and fallen away from my and who I am, like Mohawk Matt is a newer brand to most, but it's really more of me finding my actual identity, is
Yeah.
what it was. It was, a lot of people like, oh, that's the mask. The Mohawk is a prop. Like, no, that's actually who I am. I've always been like this. Now you're just seeing it connected to something. Like, this is just 100% of who I am. And so, but living who you are, depending on the system that you're around, like if you work in a 9 to 5 environment where you go to work, go home, go with your family, go do whatever else you do, um, being yourself is always gonna have its own challenges,
Yeah.
because employers don't want you to be different and act out. And that's, the school system has created people to be employees. And so a lot of the American system is designed to succeed by fitting in, by going with the flow, by doing this, or was for many years. It's shifting now. And so standing out gives me a lot of enemies. Being myself gets a lot, but they're only enemies in their mind. I don't actually probably know they exist most of the
Yeah.
time. Uh, and so it's really just being your best self, leaning into that, trying over and over the iteration of this didn't work, this didn't work, that battleship mentality, and just keep going. Just putting yourself in every situation possible. As everything that's happened in my life, health, medical, career changes, it's always about, I found, saying yes to every conversation. I don't say yes to everything, but I say yes to every conversation
Hmm.
because you never know where you're going to end up. The way that we met, like I was doing some leadership consulting for another organization who one of the guys happened to do security for Aspire and was like, "Hey, I got somebody that bailed. Can you come help this weekend?" I flew out like the next day, and I was doing security. But again, I don't do security. I was like, "Oh, that's cool. Help a buddy out. Also, get meet people I probably wouldn't have access to normally." And
Yeah, and that
that's
weekend wasn't that Kevin Hart weekend?
it was Kevin Hart, T Pain, um,
Tim
Sarah
Grover,
Blakely, Jesse Eitzer, Tim Grover,
Tim
you,
Story.
yeah, Tim Story, and so like all of these people that are amazing experts in everything they do that I don't just have access to normally,
Yeah,
and that's one of the advices, and I guess kind of call it a trick is if you can't get to where you want to be, find a different way to get in. Like
yeah,
if you can't get in this way, or like if I bought a ticket, even to buy the top tier VIP, if I wanted to meet Tim Story or any of those people, Kevin Hart, like that wasn't going to happen. Like even the top, like even if I'm paying like 10 grand, because that's not what all those things are,
hmm,
unless they do the meet and greets and things. But Aspire doesn't do a lot of that, and so or it didn't back then, and so okay, and again, it wasn't my goal to. I didn't even know who was speaking,
yeah,
but that got me in, and
yeah,
that got me to that place. Not be doing my normal thing, not promoting myself, just helping someone out,
yeah.
just finding a way to do something.
Bro, it's so awesome. Like I'll share this and then then I want you to share like
Yeah,
briefly what the future is, and then we'll pop off. But one of the things you were talking about, the being true to who you are, and obviously I spent so much time in the entertainment industry, and but it's true in any industry, but I'll see it when people get interviewed on red carpets and thing, and I would do it myself. It's like, oh, hey, life is great, everything's wonderful, and there's this facade that kind of goes over it, right? This PR aspect of
yeah,
it, and in many ways, yeah, you gotta like, be an upstat individual, and do it. But what I find, the people that I would gravitate to were the people that were the same on the red carpet as they were off the red carpet. Like literally no difference. And Tim Story's like that, Grover's like that, there are certain entertainers that are like that. Um, and those are the people that I see have gone through, maybe they tend to be a little older, a little quote unquote wiser, but that's where the value is. And I think the more we can be that way, the better we are. And Deion Sanders, I think it was Deion Sanders, one of his Coach Prime posts, he was talking about, he goes, I don't have time to waste on the people that like, I'm not, what do I care what
yeah,
someone says? He goes, I'm working over there. If you're taking the time to say something like, I don't care, you know?
yeah.
And so it is building that resilience because at the end of the day, what does it matter? Like really, what does it matter? Um, so where do you want to be or where are you going now? Obviously people can find you all over the place, but
Yeah.
what's the goal in the next, 6 months, year? Like what do you want to do?
So end all goal. Well, I don't know if I have an end all goal. I'm never ending. I'm just kind of just go and change and pivot, right?
Yeah.
As many do, as many probably listeners that do on here. And
Mhm.
so for me, it's about creating impact. It's I want to impact people's lives.
Right.
I found out a long time ago, laying in a hospital bed after being life flighted from overseas in 2011 to San Diego.
Right. I remember that
That
story. We didn't even talk about that. We got to have you back on, bro. Like,
oh man, we got so many stories. That's a whole
yeah,
deeper story too.
yeah,
But a top version of that is I realized that everything I had gone through put me in those situations to define one of my purposes in life is to help people find themselves and tell their story and kind of be that microphone. And this is before I was in podcasting or interviewing or anything, but it was like, how do I help be that. And my job in the Marine Corps was I was a journalist.
Hmm.
I'm a I'm published in 12 languages and I've won awards in journalism. Most people don't know because I don't do it anymore.
Hmm.
But my everything into that point when that happened to me in my life had trained me to extract and pull and talk to people. And so for me, that's what it's all about. It's like I have this crazy idea I'm working right now on my podcast of like everyone wants a podcast that like puts out an episode weekly or bi-weekly or whatever. And I'm crazy. I am like for those watching, look at my eyes. I'm freaking crazy Marine. Like, let's go. I want to have, and I'm going to make it happen this year. I've been working this couple of years. I've been thinking about it. Is I'm going to have a podcast where I might be releasing one, two, three a day because
Wow.
I'm not create because I'm not. My goal isn't to create a podcast that just like, oh, let's make money, let's do this. I want my goal is to share impactful conversations. And I meet so many people in
Yeah.
everything I do. Everyone, there is no, oh, you're a celebrity, so you're probably a cooler person. That's what most people do. You're a
Hmm.
known figure, so I want to put your known figure to help grow my show. I am not trying to grow my show. I'm trying to share the amazing story and lesson this person that met at the deli has that's just as amazing as you, James, just as amazing as Kevin Hart, as Tim Grover, as anyone, because there's so many amazing things we can learn from each other that I think there's so many great things that are being missed and skipped over. And so that's what I'm going to do with my with my show I'm relaunching, Activate Awesome, is just talking to awesome people. And I literally I want, and I've told my editor this, and he's like, he's terrified. This is not going to be. I was like, I don't care, man. This is what I'm going to.
A lot
I
of
will
work.
find
Yeah.
ways to
Brilliant
make
idea, man.
and put
It's
it into
brilliant.
this. I just want to share stories because every person, especially if they're not a known figure, when they have their show, they don't care that most people on my show don't care that other who else is on my show or they're not sharing those things.
Yeah.
But when they're on the show, they share that with their mom, their cousin, their aunt, their friend, their family, whatever. And so eventually, yeah, it'll grow and the impact will grow and that'll reach. But like I am creating it for them. I'm not creating it for myself. I will be successful in other ways. And I have other podcasts that I do that are more traditional style and more some business type stuff. But so for me, that's a big thing, and it all really goes to impact. Like I'm trying to finish my book right now, Activating Awesome.
Hmm.
I want to help other people just activate their truest self, and whatever that looks like. And sometimes that's in business, sometimes that's in career and more of the coaching side. Sometimes that's just giving a high five to someone and making them smile, giving them my ridiculous sticker. I still don't understand how it works, but my face is on the sticker. My face is on so many things. My face was. I got a picture a couple weeks ago from someone that saw my face on the inside of a bathroom on a Delta airplane. For me, it's about impact and just helping people be awesome and be. And I really do want to be or other people to be the reason someone has an awesome day. It sounds cheesy, but like it really is at my
But it's
core.
true, man. I'll tell you, look, when I met you, we connected, um, and that was just random. And then I invited you to go to this other mastermind and you connected with everybody there. We've stayed in contact. You are
Yeah,
inspiring. I went through very similar things when I was, in elementary school, bullied, beat up, all kinds of stuff. And and it was those things. I remember I'll share this with you as we end off. So like my father worked Monday through Friday. He was away working on site. So he was only home on the weekends. And my mother raised myself and my sister. And, I had to teach myself every sport there was. And when I got into high school, they were like, hey, you should try football because I'm tall. And I was like, I've never played. I played tennis, I played baseball. But so, and I never got into football. But I remember this. I was super proud because my mom came to pick me up from school and I had my pads and my helmet was through my pads. So I was holding it with a face mask and my jersey was hanging over, right? It's my like second practice, and I was not I was ridiculed a lot, but I thought, okay, now I'm actually doing something with the quote unquote cool guys. And as I was leaving, the door was open to my mom's car, and I was getting in, and I heard, "Hey, Barbour!" Right? And I turned, and it was two of the quote unquote cool guys on the on the football team. And I turned and I just brightened up because my mom is there. The two is cool guys are calling my name. And I'm like, yeah. And they go, make sure you come to the game tomorrow. I'm like, I will, guys. Thanks. And they go, we really need someone to carry the water. And I just was crushed inside because my mom heard it and everybody else heard it. And I
Yeah.
was like, ha ha ha, that's funny, guy. And I got in the car and my mom goes, what did they say? I'm like, oh, nothing. And that for so many people is a reality, right? And I wish that I had you doing that kind of thing. The idea of lifting up and being inspirational, you do that, and I'm so glad that you're doing what you're doing and that you're going to be continuing on to be awesome and inspire awesome and other people, buddy. So thank you for being here.
I appreciate that. And thanks for sharing your story because that's a really big piece of it all. Is I think if everyone shares a little version of their story and what they've gone through, that's how we can all learn, and that's what we learn from, and that's how we all can help each other out. I think it's helping each other is a lot easier than we all think. So appreciate your side as well.
Yeah, just putting the effort. Well, listen, I'm going to take us out. Matt's story is inspirational and he inspires, and it shows that by being true to who you are, even though you may hit some obstacles, you can actually get to where you want to go. And as I always say, everybody, your destiny's waiting. It's up to you to go and get it. We'll see you on the next one. If you like the content of Star Power, we'd love to hear it. Give us a like and share it out to your friends.